how to remove those energy vampires and get back to being guided. Hello, I'm Fractal Future, and welcome to the Vanguard, the light, where I help the spiritually minded person take it to the next level, stay on their A game, and go deeper. So we're talking about getting back to guided. This is like a video part 2. It's about removing those energy vampires, to where you're getting that sense that, I want to be guided, realizing that, hey, you are being guided. That sense of wanting to be guided is a level of guidance, right? But you want it dialed in. And part of what could be jamming that up is these energy vampires. It's things that you want to do, move your life forward, that you've been thinking about, but kind of maybe dreading, right? You kind of want to look at those things of like, you kind of made a commitment to do them, you want to do them, but you kind of dipping your toe. You're like, maybe no, maybe no, maybe no, and they're kind of hanging around. So we want to go through and address those. So we're going to go through a process right now. We're going to pick up 3 of them. Right? We're going to try to think, what are 3 things that it's kind of been nagging at me of like, oh yeah, I need to do that. Oh yeah, I need to do that. But you don't want to. Oh yeah, I want to, but I don't want to, right? We're going to go through and think of those orders. We're not saying we have to do them, right? First, let's take off, okay, I'm not saying we have to do it. We're just going to acknowledge that there's something there. Something that's taking up some mind space, right? Just think of like, okay, what am I? Like, we'll do it right now. Just think of like, get a piece of paper out. You're going to just do this, right? We don't have to do them. I'm not saying at the end of this video, go do them right away. It's not that, right? We're going to release some energy around it. So we're going to think, what's one thing I got to do? It's like, okay, I got one thing. Okay, it's kind of jamming me up. I'm thinking, okay, that's one thing. What's another thing that like either I'm dreading or don't feel like I quite know enough to do it, and be like, okay, that's another thing. And think of what's one more thing just nagging at you of like, maybe I need to do it. Maybe somewhere I need to improve, something I need to look at, right? Just pick it, what's this thing? Okay, it could be this, could be that, right? You just kind of want to get these things. They're kind of draining on you. It's either unanswered questions, something you need to do, but you haven't quite gotten up to do, right? And it can be more than 3, so just start writing them out, right? Just going to write them out. Take a couple moments right now. Just start thinking of them. I'm thinking of a couple things of like, okay, I got that to do. Yeah, I need to look at that. And then maybe just take a moment, take a deep breath in and see if something pops in our mind. So like, and breathe out. Take another deep breath in. I'm just going to ask, is there something that's kind of draining on me that I just need to look at right now? Just see if something pops in your mind, right? So we're going to write up all those things, right? Have them written down. Then we're going to go through, right? Right now we're going to look at them and just address, am I committed to them, right? Just see if we're really committed to them. You look at it. If you see if you're committed, just put a check mark next to it. Okay, I'm committed to this one. Yeah, I'm going to do this. I want to do this, right? Even if it feels uncomfortable, but like, yeah, I kind of really want to get that done. Next one, and just go through each one. Pause a bit if you need to. Right, you're going to look and just do a gut check of like, am I committed to it? And if you get like, maybe, put an X. Let's start scratching those. We don't need mind vampires of stuff we're not committed to doing. We don't want to use our will to overcome things that we don't really committed to. It's not like, yeah, I want it. Why use all that effort to push through it? Because that could be that guidance of like, don't need to do it. We're tuning back in. But if it's something like, yeah, I want to do it, even if it's uncomfortable, don't worry, we're going to deal with the uncomfort, right? But just realizing like, okay, I'm committed to that one, not committed to that one. Or it could be like, yep, that's not for this week, not for next week. Just mark them down. We're just getting a little bit of idea about these mind vampires. Just kind of put them in perspective, right? So we kind of got the ones that were check marked. They were like, okay, I'm committed to doing, but obviously they're uncomfortable, right? We kind of want to go, what are we uncomfortable? Just short of like, what's the uncomfort? What's the fear? Where do we feel in our body, right? Because that's where we can start working. That's where we can do our energy work. That's where we can do our abilities, like the vibration shift, where we can start being like, oh, that's what we got to work on. Because a lot of times it's just all fuzzy, right? And you want to be guided, you want to be like moving forward, but you got all this fuzz, right? You can't get a clarity. So we're going to get some clarity on this of like, okay, what am I feeling on all the check marks? The ones that are unchecked, we're just letting those go. Whether we let them go for a week, 2 weeks, whichever, is like letting them go. We're going to work on these ones that matter, right? Just get clear of like, hey, what's my emotion? What's my feeling in my body on each one? And that's going to start waking up of like, oh, okay. And then start whirling, do you have a technique to move through each one of them? You know, do you need to take on a program? Maybe that's the guidance is like, hey, look, you got stuff you're going to need to overcome. Do you have tools to do it? Do you have a means to address, like, this is something that's important in my life. Here's the emotion. How do I liberate that? You know, because it's not about being grinding through everything. It's like, well, how do I remove that emotion and I can do this in joy? How much easier is that? Right? And like, do I have a tool for removing that? Now that I got a little bit of awareness of like, that's not just, oh, I just don't know what to do. Because now you got some clarity. You got what you don't need to do. You got clarity on what you do need to do. And you got kind of a sense of what might be blocking me? What are the emotions I'm going to need to overcome? Right? And that might be enough, just having it clear of like, okay, I'm feeling insecure about this, but I can push through that, right? But it's like, what if you can't push through it? And you're still resisting. It's still an energy vampire. You want to have a tool. You know, it's like vibration shift. You can give an introduction below. It kind of starts clearing that stuff out, but it takes it deep. You know, but we want something of like, what will liberate that emotion? Because it's not about grinding through it all. You know, it's where you can make it to where that's easy. It's like, okay, what's my feeling on that? It's in my body. Do I have a way to release that? Because now you got clarity. Now you're getting guidance of like, oh, how can I release that? You know, how can I get at peace with that? Because once you get at peace with that, then doing those steps become like easy. Because that's your next thing, is to be, if these are something that are important, you're committed to it, make a commitment of when it's going to happen. So you get that out of your mind of like, okay, I'm calling on this date, done. I'm doing this on this date, done. And then it's like, that clears your mind of like, okay, those are handled. I've got them timed, addressed. I've taken out the energy of them. And it's like, they're going to get handled. That's the way you start pulling out these mind vampires and start dialing in that guidance. Because if this is all in kind of like distraction and you don't know what it is, it's really hard to get, you know, sources giving you guidance of like, hey, this is where I want you to go. But you got so much distraction. You can't point it. But once you start writing this down, then you get real clear of like, okay, this is a task I want to do. I'm committed to it. I got this feeling. Now you can start using your tools, if you have tools, of like, now you can address something specific and actually start making progress on these kind of distractions. Because once those go away, now you've got more energy, start really funneling into your big goals. And we're going to talk about that on the next video, where we go into like, you got your big goal, right? And possibly you've actually increased your capacity. You've gotten stronger, you've gotten better, which made your goal, almost like your goal got smaller, but then it can turn your goal into a grind, which is really weird. You'd think that, hey, it just got easy, I should just be able to fly through it. But actually can make it turn to a grind, because it's not easy, but it's easily doable. So then it's just like a lot of work, but you don't feel like you're stretching. You know, you're doing a lot of work, but you're not pushing yourself to where you feel like you just grew. So now you're not growing, but you're doing a lot of work. And that's when it turns into a grind. And it's really amazing how you can grow in capacity, and that makes it a grind, versus it almost feels like it's too much for you and you have to grind through it. It's actually, no, when your capacity exceeds your goal, that's when it becomes a grind. And we don't want that, because we want to be on our A game. We want to be on the edge. We want to be pushing ourselves, having that joy, having that enthusiasm of like really going for it, not working really hard and grinding through it. So that'll be in the next video, where we talk about, you know, changing your goals from a grind to that enthusiasm, to that joy. And it's actually by taking on more, which is counterintuitive, because we almost like want to pull back, like, oh, it's a grind, it hurts. Let me pull back. And it doesn't stop being a grind. It just takes longer, as opposed to turning into like, how do we get an enthusiasm? We'll talk about that in the next video, but do this exercise. Let's get rid of some of those mind vampires, because they're sucking energy away, and it's always like a distraction of like, oh, what about that? What about that? And it just brings up a whole bunch of confusion, because you could get source about one of them, but you don't know which one you got it to. You just know you got some info, or you want some info, but what was it? You know, so we don't need that. We got a simple tool. Start dialing that in. And until we talk again, have a blessed day or a blessed night.